People will be after noticing I went quiet for a while. I've applied for certain information and documents and appointments, so I was just waiting. I received my file from Waterford City Council. Like the file from my solicitor, probably 70 to 80% has been edited out. I have questioned Waterford City Council onto why this was done, if they even acknowledge it was done. As I said before, I will show what emails I have just to show that they were edited out of the file. I have to give them time to rectify it just in case it was a mistake. I uploaded a letter from GSOC from April 2022, basically trying to allude to the fact they are acting from when the superintendent forwarded on my complaint. I'm still trying to find out, did he forward on this complaint after I made it public or before I made it public. Many people will know I have been in contact with GSOC since last year. I sent my file as requested the 2nd of March 2022. I've requested 8 times was this received. I've contacted 4 different people in GSOC to try to find out was my file received. I even sent up the tracking and registered letter details. I have been ignored completely all 8 times. Not one person has the courtesy to respond. I won't like to think GSOC are trying to deal with my complaint from April 2022 when I have dozens of emails from various agents that show otherwise. So I'll give them more time to perhaps combine all my complaints and emails before I start accusing them of any wrongdoing. I am still awaiting on my complaints, which had no evidence, which was the letter I received from the superintendent. I asked which complaints had no evidence, as there was various complaints with various amounts of evidence. I was never given the answer to this, and I'm still waiting on it. 2 new detectives have taken somewhat of a statement. I'll just say they took the statement. As far as I know, they were following up on the assault. I won't say any more about this. If you squeeze a rat enough, he will squeal. So I can't see certain people being squeezed too much for information in case they spill the true nature of this glorified shit show. This person has the upper hand thanks to the actions of a detective I previously spoke about. We will go through the motions to give the impression something was done. Maybe I'm wrong, we'll see. I cannot get any legal assistance. I've wrote to dozens. Not only has the media been approached to give this no attention, but also the legal profession. Politics and justice certainly don't go hand in hand. I would have liked to see Sinn Féin hold David Cullen accountable and lead by example and condemn his actions in this, which I am open to discussing with Mr. Cullen live on Facebook if he wants. Instead, he gets to hide behind his party. We will all be aware of the usual slander spread through the usual political network by which people who ironically have no interest in history or politics, which I've said before. The only justice I will ever get is if I can get this into a courtroom. This is my option now. The amount of negligence and the abuse of human rights. My right to fair procedure is non-existent. I now know these to be torts of law. It's going to be a steep learning curve, to be honest. I can't afford a barrister, but I'd like to think that my basic fundamental constitutional rights come before whether I can afford a barrister. We will see though. Tough road, nevertheless, it's a road. What's going on now is certain parties are purposely running down the statute of limitations by frustrating me and delaying documents. This was the issue with Waterford Council, but as they have now edited my file, they have opened the door again for this, thankfully. One thing we both agree on is that I have enough evidence to prove my point. I intend to make this as public as I can. You will have the usual clowns pushing you not to pay attention. If what I am saying is true, should these people really be left to abuse the positions that they're in? Where's the accountability? Even if I'm deemed to be lying, should I not be held accountable? LSRA are the only organisation so far who have stayed unbiased and professional throughout all of this. As I said, certain things I have to let go begrudgingly. To hear Mr. David Cullen talk on the radio, the hypocrisy, only recently talking about the lack of transparency in the HSE. Mr. Cullen had no concerns about the actions of the HSE or the lack of transparency or Tulsa when I requested aid in having a transparent investigation. He did, as we know, try to send my wife a friend request. So hearing this transparency call, I find hard to swallow. The people in Waterford will be very aware of how critical I have been and how I call out the lack of transparency by certain people. Now I have to listen to this kind of bullshit on the radio. Mr. Cullen wants to do something community based. You should address a certain group of individuals engaging in illicit acts not 100 yards from your office in Barrack Street. I'm not going to tiptoe around the truth because it reflects badly on those who abuse their power and position. Whether it's a Garda, a TD, a Tussla employee, a Waterford council or a solicitor, I will call it out. I've only ever spoken about things I can prove. The evidence is there, but unfortunately a courtroom is the only place it's relevant because of the cronyism and the influence involved. I've been informed I have no filter and it gets in the way of what I have to say. Regardless whether I have an issue with what and how I portray something, the relevance and seriousness of what I have to say should be the issue. I will give certain parties another bit of time and I will address this through the media and show the difficulties and realistically in reporting corruption or whistleblowing. Despite the mountains of evidence, it's irrelevant if they all decide not to look at it. I will upload an interview soon where I answer questions. After this video, I will explain what each document is and why it's so important. I'd like to think a judge will hear me out, so that appears to be my next approach. I'll keep everyone posted. Certain people are going to try and cover this up. I intend to not let this happen. So we'll take it from there. Thanks.